Hi there guys, in this video we'll be taking a look at the 3 top ships in Elite and Dangerous 1.5. This was made in a beta, so things could technically change slightly, but I'm hoping not too much has changed. The 3 ships obviously are the Anaconda, which has been in since version 1, the Imperial Cutter, which is the new one, and the Federal Corvette, which is also a new one. The Corvette and the Cutter probably both want military ranks to retain, whereas the Anaconda doesn't. It's available to anybody as long as you've got enough money. So let's have a look at our first ship, the Anaconda. So guys, the Anaconda for quite a while was the biggest ship in the game. There was simply nothing much else to challenge it. The Anaconda doesn't need any military rank, unlike the other two, which I'm pretty sure are going to need probably the top rank for. The Anaconda obviously is a good all-round ship. It's good at trading, it's good at fighting, and it's good at even exploration. I use this sort of build for weapons. I usually use the pulse lasers in 4 of the points and then 4 multi-cannons. However, you could swap a few things obviously around. This is only just a sort of guide of what I use. I at the moment don't use much of the hard points, the huge hard points, because I don't like any of the weapons. But this build here gives you access to 8 weapons. This is an A-class Anaconda because we're going to be testing how fast it turns and how well it jumps and stuff like that. I did that down the bottom, gives you an idea how much it can jump with and so forth. Let's have a look at the ship on the station and just show you a quick look at it in case you've never actually seen around the Anaconda very many times. Obviously this is the back of the ship. The Anaconda itself is quite a compact model as such. It's obviously a big ship, but it's not got any sticky out parts or anything that protrudes too much. And when you take off like this, you don't find it has much trouble getting through the door. Like I said, you got to remember the cockpit is on the top of the ship, so you think of the actual rest of the ship underneath your view. So when you go through the door, try and sort of go across by the top of it. That was not good. Got hit by a bloody. Typical. My shield's down because I've been swapping it about to do a sort of quick build, and just unluck, I managed to get hit just going out. But anyway, so like I said, I will test this a bit away from the station because if I'm firing guns, I don't want them going hostile and blowing me up. So all I need to do is just get a little bit away. Like I said, I plan to show you where all the hard points are, so you get an idea of where things are, because sometimes in the equipment pages it's not very obvious where some of the weapons are. So guys, now we've actually got away from the station, I want to show you where the actual hard points are. As we can see, they're deploying now, and on the little interface you can see where they are roughly with the little dots. We've got 4 sort of on the top half, 2 on the underside, and then 2 kind of on the underside right at the back. So the first kind of set of guns we're looking at, which are large, are these 2 top ones. Obviously these do get a very good field of view because they actually are where you kind of see, so they are very useful, them ones, and allow you to mount up to large weapons into them. The next kind of set I see is kind of the class 2, which are on the sides. These got very good coverage again. Okay, they're only class 2, but this allows you to fit something like a multi-cannon in them. Like I said, you could fit anything you like. Obviously I'm just giving you just a position and all that lot. I would consider them multi-cannons on the top half of the ship. So let's have a look on the underside of the ship. So this is where our huge hard point is, another large point and two small ones. Now it can be quite tricky to actually see where the huge hard point is, because in the ship guide thing it doesn't kind of show you very easily. I've kind of wondered where it was. So our huge hard point is just here, which is near the sort of front of the ship. It's not quite that close to the front of the ship, but it's not too far. I'd say it's about 20% away from the nose. Sort of see if you can see what I mean now. It's, like I said, at the moment I don't like a lot of the class 4 weapons, which are the huge ones, so I end up sticking a pulse laser in there instead. The other large point underneath is this one here, and this is very close to the front. Again, like I said, it is very close to the front. And now there's just one more set of guns, which are the small points. The small ones are tucked kind of right at the back, and I do find that I don't get a very good usage out of these ones. They're kind of considered like extra ones, and I would probably say they're about 80% away from the front of the ship. Being class 1 as well, you can't really fit anything particularly great in them, but they're an extra set of hard points. So in total you can have 8. So let's run through exactly how they look when actually firing them on your interface. Anyway, so this is where the huge hard point is. It's directly underneath, as you can see, and it fires like so. At the moment, like I said, I've got a pulse laser in there. So let's put in the large hard point, which is underside, which is just like I said, it's a little bit further back, but it's got very good coverage again. Like so, as you can see, they're kind of very close. The next two weapons we want to look at is the ones on the top, which are large again. And like I said, these will probably be the ones you use most of the time because they have the same field of view as you. So now let's have a look at the two class 2 or medium ones, which are on the side at the front. Again, they have very good coverage. And finally the small hard points, which are down the back and underside, which are tucked right in. Like I said, you don't tend to get a great field of view with them. So the next thing to have a look at is the turn speed of this ship. The one I'm going to be testing it 2 different ways, one with no speed and the other with the speed set to the blue point, which should be technically the fastest turn speed. So I'm going to use this scale as a reference point and just see how long it takes. Like I said, this test is not going to be very technical, it's just basically see how long it takes to turn. Like I said, this is quite a slow turn, I suppose, compared to some of the other ships. It looks around about 17 seconds with no speed. So let's get to the blue point and see how long that takes to turn. Obviously this will be the best case scenario. So it looks like we're nearly done, and it works out to roughly 14 seconds. So like I said, I've just noticed we've got 2 pips on, so I'll keep all the others on 2 pips. So I guess with a look for 2 more pips on it, maybe a little bit quicker at turning, but at least that gives you some idea. One thing I just want to mention is about shielding. Now obviously all 3 ships can have a lot of shielding, but it depends on exactly what your build is. Like I said, with some of the other ships, or I think the cutter or something, you can sometimes get a little bit limited by your reactor, so that may vary what kind of shielding you've got or how many boosters and things like that. So it's shielding that I don't want to get into at the moment, because like I said, it can just vary depending on your build. Like I said, I think all 3 ships should dock okay. I'm at the moment using the autopilot just to check them. Obviously I think the Anacondas I pretty much know is fine because it's been in the game for so long, and if there's any serious problems with that you would know about them by now. I think the other thing I will just show is sort of a trade build. So if you're using the ship as a trade ship, is what the sort of maximum amount of cargo you can store on each 3 ships. Like I said, with the combat it's kind of a bit more technical because it really depends on what weapons you like, what shields you fitted and things like that. So I can't go into too much detail with them. But for myself, for the Anaconda, I find 4 pulses and 4 multi-cannons works well. And as well, it's got the advantage, it's a pretty cheap build. It also doesn't use too much power, so I think you can get away with an A7 power plant, which is also a big bonus. But it depends again, like thrusters, and it does get a bit complicated with it all. But like I said, I'm just doing a sort of a quick overview of all 3 ships, which still is going to take some time. So let's have a look at a sort of trade build. So sort of kind of the best case scenario if you want just solely moving cargo. I probably will take the shield off because if you're trading you might do it in solo, so you might just want maximum amount of cargo to, like I was doing with the combat range, just to basically get through them as fast as possible. I think that might be just it. Is it 400? Yeah, it seems like it. So I suppose I could take the stuff down to D's to give you a bit better indication of the jump range when it's fully loaded, because you probably won't be taking A-class equipment if you've got a pretty minimalistic build. Frame shifts I should leave. Thrusters, yeah. I mean, technically you could take them down further or change them. Yeah, so I might just fit an A7 power plant because that's what I'm using in my other setup. I mean, obviously at the moment I'm not using that much power. I could change a few things, but that's giving you 464 tons with an 18.35 light years fully loaded. Unladen, it gives you around about the 30 mark. So all in all, that's a pretty good long distance trader. Like I said, if you change a few things about, you can probably get about 35 to nearly, I don't know if you can get up to about 40 light years, but you can get at least about 35 for exploration, making it a good ship for that also. Anyway guys, so I think that's the Anaconda concluded. Let's have a look at our next ship, the Federal Corvette. So guys, this is the Federal Corvette, a new ship added in 1.5. This is a beta build, so things could change between now and actual final release, but hopefully too much hasn't changed. The big thing of the Federal Corvette is the 2 huge hardpoints, which allows you to fit 2 plasma accelerators. These potentially could do absolutely massive amount of damage to any other ships. Like I said, the next point we got is a large point. Then finally, well, not fine. Then next we have 2 more medium points, which I've seemed to have fitted a beam laser in there for some reason. I think it's just because this list is getting a bit sort of crazy. It would be nice to have some sort of filter. So there we go. There's a pulse. It just makes it symmetrical. So once we've got them in, we got a set of small hardpoints which I've stuck into multi-cannons. Like I said, this is not a recommended build, it is just build just to show you how the ship works and stuff. The rest of it is I've upgraded to A class just to give you an idea. The other thing with A class is I want again to check the turn speed, so looking like I've kind of got it fitted for training a bit. So this ship can move 416 tons Unloaded, it gives about 13.5 light years. Loaded, 10 point roughly 8, just under, which is not fantastic against the Anaconda, which can move about 400 with about 15 or 16 light year range, I think. So for training wise, you're probably kind of maybe better with the Anaconda. Anyway, guys, so let's have a look at the ship when it's docked. As you can see, the 1 and 2, that's the huge hard points, which are right on the back. It does look kind of similar to a Anaconda in some respects, that it's kind of got the triangle form, but I would say it's probably a little bit more wider and a little bit more taller, but I wouldn't say it's hugely different. So what we need to do is to show you the weapons and where the placement are. Again, I'm going to have to get away from the station for this, as I don't want to aggro the station. So, like I said, remember the cockpit is on the top of the ship, so you kind of want the rest of the ship underneath you when you're taking off. So let's get away from the station and have a look at the hard points.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
Alright, so we're away. So let's have a look. I think I need to get the guns out, so I need to sign them all. As I want to show you where all the hard points are. Right. So as you can see on the little pointer, that we've got what, 4 together in the middle. We've got 1 on the underside and 2 on the far left and right. Now, let's have a look on the top, which is obviously our huge hard points, which are just behind us. Like I said, you can mount you can mount 2 plasma accelerators up the top there, and like I said, they will fire across the top of the cockpit. They're on a little platform just to raise them up a little bit, so they won't directly hit the front of the ship. But I'm guessing the actual whole of the ship's going to act as kind of like a bit of a block, so them guns won't be able to go down very far if they're on a gimbal or turret. As you can see, they're pretty closely mounted together. Let's see if I can actually show you the height, which is not always that easy to show. So let's see if I can get it a bit more or not. But as you can see, they just fire over the top of the cockpit, which is probably not where I would have liked to have seen them, but anyway. So hang on, there's another set of hard points are just down the front here, which is I think they must be medium points or small. I think they might be small actually. So then now finally we got another set of hard points, which are on the front. Well, they're not on the front, they're on the side down here. I think you can just about see them down here. I think, is there a number there? 04. So that's another set of hard points, which are on the side of the ship, which is a bit like the Anaconda, but they're a little bit more back, I would say about halfway on the ship, whereas the Anaconda's side guns are much more on the front. So Let's move it around and see if I can show you the underside of the ship. Which is sometimes a little bit tricky to get round. So underneath we have I think a large hardpoint, which is right at more or less at the front here, which is that beam cannon, which you can see here, number 05 by the looks of it. Again, that's kind of a little bit similar to the Anaconda's front gun. So as you can see, the Federal Corvette has a bit of a weakness for weapons on the underside of the ship because it only has one large hardpoint underneath, as opposed to the Anaconda, which had a couple underside plus with a couple of small hardpoints. Like I said, the Federal Corvette has basically most of its guns focused on the top half of the ship. So guys, that is where our hardpoints are on the Federal Corvette. Next thing is to show you how they fire. So if I go into my fire groups and start removing some of the guns, I'll first start with the two huge hardpoints, which I've put plasma accelerators in. As you can see, they fire directly across the shop of the ship, straight forward. I see me for not actually putting some more pips in energy. As you can see, the plasma accelerators quickly drown the power down very quickly.
Warning, temperature
And also make the ship get fairly hot as well. So you can just see there, 85% heat. So the next kind of set we have a look at is the large beam, which is on the underside of the ship, a bit like the Anaconda. Like I said, this is its only hard point on the underside of the ship. So next we look at the two pulse lasers, which are mounted on the side of the ship, which give you not particularly great coverage in the middle. As you can see, they're quite far apart, unlike the Anaconda, which were a bit more focused at the front. Finally, the multi-cannons, which are actually on the top half of the ship, like the Anaconda's pulse lasers. So all in all, as you can see, the main focus of the Federal Corvette is its huge hardpoints. Like I said, at the moment there's only two choices, and for me, I don't like the huge hardpoints too much. But if you're actually one who likes especially the plasma accelerator, then the Federal Corvette could be quite an interesting proposition for you. However, the ship, even firing all normal weapons, can get quite hot and drag its power out pretty fast. So I think the next thing to look at is its turn speed, which is going to be kind of important, especially regarding with these fixed weapons. So now it's time to check the turn speed of the Federal Corvette. This time I'm keeping 2 pips in everything and just seeing how fast it turns with no speed to do a complete revolution. This is looking around about 18 seconds, which it's not much different than the Anaconda. Like I said, it might be depending on how I measure it. So let's try the blue stage and see how much quickly it turns at this speed. So it's beginning to look like around 14 seconds, which is about the same as the Anaconda. So I think maybe the first one might be about 17. Like I said, I've been rounding the numbers up, so there doesn't look like a lot of difference between the turn speed of a Federal Corvette or an Anaconda. So I think the next thing to do is to get it back to a station and have a look at a kind of trade build. I think there's not going to be much in it. I'm kind of interested to see if the autopilot handles the ship okay, which I'm guessing it probably will, because it's not much different size, I wouldn't have thought, than the Anaconda. It might be slightly bigger. So far, like I said, the main focus of the Corvette seems to be them two huge hardpoints, which, like I said, if you're very good with the plasma accelerators, may be very interesting for you. But at the moment, I'm not particularly good with them, but it may be worth trying to spend a bit more time with them, especially with the two.
Docking request granted.
So far, this has kind of been a bit of an easy thing for the autopilot, because we've gone straight into the station, so...
Landing gear deployed.
Be aware of oncoming traffic in the access
Well, it seems the autopilot doesn't seem to have a problem with the Federal Corvette, which is good.
Successful.
So now we're docked, it might be worth looking at the trade side of this ship. So let's just refill in that. Outfitting. Like I said, I will leave the weapons alone for the time being. So if we have a look at some of these things, let's drop the shield out. Right, let's change it to name so we can find cargo thingy. 128, that's the one, I think. I think that's kind of it, but we could change the equipment down to D class just to get a bit more range. I mean, technically you might be able to swap it lower, but I'm just giving you a quick sort of setup for D class. So we've got just about enough power as it is at the moment. We've took the shield off. We could change the sensors down as well, so that gives us around about 544 cargo space with no shield. That gives us about a 17.6 light year range, with it laden to 12 roughly, just over. So like I said, it's not going to be a massive improvement. Hang on, I think I've actually got a few things that are the wrong size actually in the cargo bay. So if I upgrade them, it should actually make it a bit better actually. Just check through. So that's gone up to 608 now. That seems to be it. So 608 is our actual maximum. Like I said, it's 17.2 light years of range, and with it laden 11.6. So it's a little bit bigger than the Anaconda. Sorry about before, I've just had the wrong modules installed. So yeah, it's potentially a little bit bigger than the Anaconda, which I think with no shield, I think gives you 464-ish, 468 I think if you don't have an autopilot, and this is being 600 and something, which would make it a little bit better for trading. So I think we need to have a look at our next ship, which is our third and final ship, the Imperial Cutter. So guys, we're actually got the Imperial Cutter now, which is probably considered one of the biggest ships in the game now. It was, like I said, introduced into 1.5, and it could cost around about the 200 million mark. Now it's got quite a few weapons. I've got 2 mediums, 4 mediums actually. Sorry, got 4 mediums. 2 large points. Which are side by side, and finally 1 huge hard point which is on the underside. For this I've just filled it up with kind of shield boosters, but you've got 8 utility slots, which, like I said, you can use for shield boosters and that. Like I said, again, like all the other ships, this is A class, so everything is upgraded to the maximum. Like I said, I've just kind of stuck a few different things in. I've tried a BioWee shield, for example, just to see what they're like, which is a new shield type they've added. Like I said, this is not done for kind of trading, this is just done for testing. Just wondering where these decal goes on this ship. Seems to be on the side, I guess. Not sure what all these are for. Dashboard colours. Never seen that before in a ship. They dashboard things? Don't know. Maybe that's to do with the bobbleheads. Might be. Yeah, so... Yep, as you can see, it's all A class, which is the top again for this ship, which is going to cost quite a lot of money. So what we need to do is to have a look at its hard points soon, but before we do, we might just have a look around the ship and see. I think I actually meant to launch by accident then, but anyway. There is a current bug in the beta builds with the Imperial Cutter at the moment, which is when you try to go through the station door like so, that you will need to leave the hard points out, unlike the other ships where you usually retract them. So, like I said, hopefully they will fix that problem soon, as it's kind of a bit annoying, but as you can see, it tries to get stuck. But as you put the hard hand point, the landing gear back out, you can see you can get through. Doesn't help when you've got other ships trying to push you out of the way, but anyway, that's just the at the moment the sort of quick fix, which is not ideal, but like I said, hopefully they will sort that out soon. So guys, we need to get away from the station and to have a look at these hard points.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
So guys, let's have a look at these hard points. I'll just move the ship around so we've got some light on the top of the ship. So as you can see, the Imperial Cutter is a very white ship. It's kind of based around the Clipper, as you'd expect with the Imperial kind of class ships, with its kind of large rounded nose. This is where the actual cockpit is right at the front. So as we go across the top of the ship, we can see our first set of hard points, which are a set of large hard points, which were like I fitted is pulse lasers. I like the way they've actually labelled caution hardpoint on the actual ship. But so the next set of hardpoints, which are a set of medium hardpoints, are on the wings, or I think you call them nacelles. I'm not totally sure. Like the Imperial Clipper, they're spaced very far apart, and means they've kind of got a bit of a blind spot in the front of the ship. As you can see, the Imperial Cutter is a pretty large ship. And I would say it's probably one of the better looking ships, although some people don't like the design. Myself, I kind of do like the design of the Imperial Cutter. So, as I was showing before, this is the underside of the ship, but if you don't get much light on, it's pretty hard to tell. So there is a set of power points there, set of mediums, and I think that's the huge hard point just there. So the huge hard point is very close to the front of the ship, which could mean it's quite a bit easier to use than the Federal Corvette's huge hard point, which are right at the back of the ship. I might just try and swing this around and get some light under the bottom of the ship to show you a bit easier, because it's probably not very easy to see. So if we keep going under, I think you can just about see the guns now. So you can see our set of medium hard points, which are on the right, and our large hard point right at the front of the ship. So as you can see on the interface, we've got 2 hard points on the top, 3 on the underside, and 2 far apart on the nacelles or wings. So let's run through the hard points. Our first ones are, oops, that's not kind of right. So must be that one, which is our large hard point, which is underneath, which again is a bit like the Anaconda and the Federal Corvette. So the next set to have a look is the ones on the top, which are like so, but remember these far across the top of the ship. The next set to look at is our medium hard points, which are on the underside at the front nearly. And finally our last set of hard points, which are far apart on the nacelles, as you can see here, which will probably have quite a bit of a blind spot in the middle, so they're not particularly great for fighting ships on the front of you, but that's kind of the same thing as the Imperial Clipper. So as you can see, there's quite a margin between them. So probably the next thing we might need to look at is our thrusters, and to see how fast we turn. So once again, I'll use this line as a reference point. I'll just simply turn with no speed and 2 pips and see how long it takes to turn. So it looks like the Imperial Cutter is a bit slower at 25 seconds. So let's increase our speed and see how fast we turn once we hit the blue section. So this is actually looking a little bit slower, to be honest. So you're looking at around about 20 seconds, which is quite a bit unusual, because the other 2 ships managed to do it quicker at 14, whilst the Imperial Cutter took 20. So if you're looking at turn speed on a ship, then you will probably think the Cutter is the slowest. Then probably the Federal Corvette, and then probably the fastest is probably the Anaconda, but I don't think there's much between the Anaconda and the Federal Corvette. There might be a little bit. So regards with the hard points, it really depends on what you kind of looking for. If you like the twin huge hard point, then the Federal Corvette may be a very good choice. Be warned though, it's not got a lot on the underside. The Anaconda obviously is a good all-round combat. It's more focused forward, so it can be quite good that way. And the Courier kind of has a bit all over the place. It's got this kind of same sort of setup as such as the Imperial Clipper, with the guns, a couple of guns on the nacelles, but it has got more on the front as well than the Clipper. So like I said, it really depends on your playstyle to which type of weapons or hardpoints is best suited for you. Probably myself, I would probably prefer the Anacondas, more focused forward. But if you use more turrets and things like that, then the Cutter could be a good choice. And like I said, if you're using fixed weapons, obviously the Corvette could be a very good choice. So one thing I forgot to show in this section, which I've done now, is to show you how the ship looks when it's docked. Like I've said before, it's a very white ship, very based on the Clipper design. Like I said, I don't think the nacelles stick out as much, or the wings as badly. I mean, some people don't like the design of the ship. Myself, I kind of like the Imperial Cutter's design. As you can see, there's the sort of entry points with a little staircase at the front. We have a cockpit at the front. To me, it kind of looks like a little... to me, it looks like it's got a little bit of resemblance to the Voyager ship. I don't know. Maybe not, but for me, it's got a little bit of resemblance to that. So, on the back of the ship, which I will show you in a second, you won't be disappointed if you like a lot of engines, because you will find 6 engines on the back. This doesn't leave much space for anything else on it. So guys, let's have a look at the ship and see if we can equip it for a sort of trade build and see what it gives. First, as normal, I just refilled the ship and so. So once it's gone down, let's go to outfitting. So like I said, they're just test stuff, to be honest. The first page, like I said, I need to work into it a bit more and suss what goes where, but let's replace our shield, which is currently a bioweave, which I think trades size for speed. So I think we get rid of this fuel scoop as well. So I think I've only just got to put this in, which will give us 784 cargo, if that's right. I'm just checking. After my last thing with the Federal Corvette, which is a huge increase over the other 2 ships, the Anaconda and the Federal Corvette, both kind of coming up to the 400 and 600 mark. So to get 800 is a massive increase. I would think on trading it would give you roughly probably about 2 million a trip. So the next thing I'm going to do is just to change the equipment down to D class, so we increase our range. Obviously with such a large cargo bay that all the range we're going to need it. I think that made sense. Seems to be I've got a bit of stuff installed, so I can't get that power plant down that much at the moment. I guess it's because all these shield boosters, which I could take out, but it means a bit of putting them all back again later. But anyway, it could change the sensors. Actually, I missed them. Is there anything else I've missed? Power plant. Oh, maybe I can do it now. Yep, I can do it now. So that works out at the moment that we've got 784 cargo with a jump range of 22.2 light years, and when laden we got 14.7 light years, which is not bad considering we're taking 784 cargo. So for a trade ship it's easily the best because simply it's got the most cargo space, and more cargo space means simply more money. So guys, that kind of concludes the video. That's our look at the 3 top end ships, the Anaconda, the Federal Corvette and the Imperial Cutter. Like I said, each does have its own sort of plus and minus thing, but like I said, if you're looking for trading, obviously the Cutter's a pretty good ship. Combat wise it varies, and like I said, shielding depends on what equipment. Anyway guys, take care and have fun.